let's talk about Polo 3. Woo! We are in the key that has two sharps. Now, whether you think that's D major or B minor, I shall leave up to you. I'm sure you can work that out. I hope you can work that out. This is again in common time. The speed set for it, or suggested for it, is moderato, and it builds on the skills we've previously worked on: level crossings, resonant intervals, relative pitch, resonant intonation, sympathetic resonance, and it's further ear training. So we have a range of intervals used, and we're using a drone to tune against, which is the concept of relative pitch. And we're moving from an interval which is naturally resonant, often a major third, or a major fifth, or perfect fifth, sorry, or a major sixth, to something that might be more challenging for our ears. The intervals are usually increasing and getting wider, which is usually harder for us to discern correctly. So it's encouraging us to listen carefully and to build our oral skills, so that when you're playing Mozart and you suddenly have a huge gap between notes, you can accurately anticipate the pitch difference, or those huge intervals in the Beethoven romances. It's really, really helpful for those, I guess, just later pieces in the repertoire that require more developed listening skills and a more developed sense of relative pitch, since the note won't naturally ring or isn't easy to find or doesn't have a convenient shift. You're going out on a limb and you have to be able to hear the interval correctly and anticipate the note you're going to play. Anyway, that's enough talking. I'm going to play it through at a slightly slower tempo, and then we might find some things that you would like to mark in your music to help you approach it, and talk about some ways that we can practice the more challenging aspects. So I'll just move that out of the way, grab my violin. Definitely check that your violin's in tune before you play something like this, because otherwise it's a suicide mission. So start with your A and maybe use an electronic tuner to tune to an absolute 440 pitch. Once you've got that, I'm going to deliberately take my E string out of tune so that we can practice tuning it. Whoa, wow! And as I discussed in a previous tutorial, it was one or two, I don't remember which, learning to tune using your ears, hearing the two sounds kind of converge and come towards that perfect fifth, is a skill that we develop. If you can hear that your strings are out of tune in some way, but you're not sure whether it's too flat or too sharp, just pick a direction and start turning the fine tuner. You can usually decide pretty quickly if you're making it better or making it worse. If you stand here saying, which way do I go? Nothing happens. D major. Oh, I didn't tell you that. Might be in B minor still, who knows? heck is dynamic balance? Well, I was talking about the center of your hand. Center of my hand? What? Okay, let's backtrack. A lot of the time, your thumb is roughly opposite your middle finger, okay? Which is kind of your middle finger, but not, because we've only got 4 fingers on this side of the hand. Anyway, there's the center of my hand. Okay, bit bigger. As I'm playing, that center of balance doesn't stay in the same spot. It moves. Because the angle of my hand when I play something like this third finger by itself, and then I put my first finger down, it shifts really slightly. So when I'm playing just the 3, and I add the 2, nothing really changes because my fingers are very close. Release, nothing changes. When I put the 1 on, my balance shifts ever so slightly. And then when I change to the 2, my balance shifts again because now I'm operating with just my first and second fingers. I don't have the 3 or 4 on. Oh, but I need the 4. So before I can put the 4th finger on, I have to pivot on the fingers that are already on the string so I can get the 4 across. If I leave my hand at the same angle, you can look at that black cross, I can't play the next thing accurately. My finger is too short. My finger has fallen onto the A string and my finger has destroyed the double stop. So to be able to play the note accurately, I have to fix my technique. That means elbow comes through and pivot. Oh, and you can see that black cross moving because my balance is dynamic. It's like shifting your weight from one foot to the other. Okay, we all do it, we just don't think about it. So in the second bar, we have that challenge. And it's worth just playing the 1 and the 4 and feeling how your body, sorry, that's a terrible angle, okay, has to compensate. If you've got naturally long arms and long fingers, you might roll through a lot less than I do. If you're petite or short-fingered, you may find yourself rolling a little more. No matter what happens, we want that sympathetic resonance because that's actually in tune. Oh, so sad, too bad. So it's worth looking through here and marking for yourself the 4th fingers and marking where you need your elbow to scoop through and accommodate that dynamic balance. If you're used to having your arm static and not swinging freely from the shoulder, you'll have to fix it to play this study accurately. Also worth checking, if you're finding yourself struggling a little bit, is your violin actually on your collarbone? If it's not, I just posted a really good video for that. There's a song and everything. You get to put your violin on your head and then put it on your collarbone and turn your head. That's great. It will fix your posture. But if you have this slopitis disease, you can't move your elbow and you can't play in tune and it's all going to suck. So make sure that the posture is right and that the button of the violin is in your neck. Button, hello, that's button. Hello, neck. And that you're set up well because this is everything, okay? Busy, busy, stop, stop posture is actually what gets you all the way to Mozart. Who knew? I don't think there's anything horrendously hard in here. You know what? I kind of like finagled the 3rd line a little bit. I just wasn't quite thinking ahead enough. And when you have this, I find that challenging because there's a lot of 4th fingers and I have to accommodate those with my arm and be proactive. If I don't plan ahead for them, it's a shambles. Also worth marking, what level is your bow playing on? When are you actually crossing from level 2 to 4 to 6? Because remember, we don't use any single strings here. We're only ever playing double stops. So we're thinking level 2, level 4, level 6. You will find there are less string crossings than you think there are. And you will also find that your bow is unconsciously trying to cross because your eyes look at the pitch and think there's a string crossing that actually doesn't exist. So it's worth finding for yourself. No, I'm not doing it for you. The level crossings in here, G and D, D and A and E. And then making sure your arm only moves for those level crossings. If you've played 1 and 2 to mastery, you'll be fine here. Chant the words dynamic balance to yourself. Always check in with your posture first, and I would love to see a video of your 3 when you think it's sounding awesome.